Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a magnificent golden kingdom. In this kingdom lived a princess so fair, with skin as white as snow, lips as red as a rose, and hair as black as ebony. Her name was Snow White, and she was as kind as she was beautiful. Her voice was like a melody, and whenever she sang, the little birds and animals of the forest would gather around to listen, joining her in a sweet chorus. She spent her days playing with her woodland friends, her laughter echoing through the trees, a picture of pure innocence and joy. But not all was well in the kingdom. The queen, Snow White's stepmother, was a woman of stunning beauty, but her heart was filled with vanity and coldness. Every day she would stand before her magical mirror and ask, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And every day the mirror would reply, "You, O queen, are the fairest of them all." This answer pleased the queen, for her beauty was the source of her power and pride. However, as Snow White blossomed into a young woman, her beauty began to outshine even the queen's. One fateful day, the queen asked her question, and the mirror's answer was different. "My queen," it said, "you are fair, it's true, but Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." A storm of jealousy and rage consumed the queen. She could not bear to be second best. Her vanity turned to venom, and she decided that Snow White must be eliminated. She summoned her most trusted huntsman, a man bound by loyalty, and gave him a terrible command. "Take Snow White deep into the forest," she ordered, her voice laced with ice, "and there you will end her life. As proof that you have done my bidding, bring me back her heart in this box." The huntsman, though horrified, knew he had no choice but to obey his queen. He led the unsuspecting princess into the dense woods, under the pretense of a leisurely walk. Snow White, trusting and kind, followed without a hint of fear, delighting in the beauty of the forest around her. When they reached a secluded clearing, the huntsman drew his knife. But as he looked at the innocent princess, who was gently petting a small fawn, his heart failed him. He couldn't bring himself to commit such a monstrous act. Tears welled in his eyes as he dropped to his knees. "I cannot do it," he confessed. "The queen, she's mad with jealousy. Run, child. Run away into the forest and never come back." Terrified and confused, Snow White didn't need to be told twice. She turned and fled, deeper and deeper into the dark, imposing woods. The huntsman, to deceive the queen, hunted a wild boar and placed its heart in the box, returning to the castle with the false proof. Meanwhile, Snow White ran for her life. The once friendly forest now seemed like a terrifying maze. Gnarled branches looked like grasping claws, and glowing eyes peered at her from the darkness. Every shadow seemed to hold a new threat. Exhausted and weeping, she finally collapsed in a small, sun-dappled clearing as dawn broke. The forest animals, her old friends, found her there. Seeing her distress, they gently nudged her and led her along a winding path. After a short walk, they came upon a most peculiar sight, a tiny, charming cottage tucked away in the heart of the woods. It looked like a doll's house, with a thatched roof and little windows. Curiosity overpowering her fear, Snow White peeked inside. The cottage was a mess. Tiny dishes were piled in the sink, little chairs were scattered about, and dust covered everything. But what truly caught her eye were the 7 tiny beds lined up against one wall. Believing it to be the home of children who had no one to care for them, Snow White's kind heart took over. With the help of her animal friends, she cleaned the entire cottage from top to bottom. She washed the dishes, swept the floors, and tidied everything up. Utterly exhausted from her ordeal and her hard work, she found the 7 little beds and, lying across them, quickly fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Later that day, the owners of the cottage returned. They were not children, but 7 dwarfs who worked all day in a nearby diamond mine. Their names were Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. As they approached their home, they noticed smoke curling from the chimney and a light glowing in the window. "Someone's in our house," whispered Doc. Cautiously, they crept inside, their mining picks held high. They were astonished to find their home sparkling clean, and then they saw her, a beautiful young woman asleep on their beds. At first they were suspicious, but when Snow White woke up and told them her sad story, their hearts softened. All except for Grumpy, who grumbled about women being nothing but trouble. But even he couldn't hide his concern. They agreed to let her stay, offering her shelter and protection in exchange for her cooking and cleaning. And so, Snow White began a new, happy life with the 7 dwarfs. Back at the castle, the evil queen, believing Snow White to be gone forever, once again approached her mirror. "Magic mirror on the wall, who now is the fairest one of all?" she asked, a triumphant smile on her face. Imagine her fury when the mirror replied, "Over the 7 jeweled hills, beyond the 7th fall, in the cottage of the 7 dwarfs, Snow White is fairest of all." The queen shrieked in rage. She had been tricked. Realizing the huntsman had betrayed her, she descended into the castle's secret dungeons where she practiced dark magic. She decided to take matters into her own hands. Using a powerful potion, she transformed herself into a stooped old peddler woman with a wart on her nose and a raspy voice. No one would ever recognize her. For her weapon, she chose not a knife, but something far more subtle. She crafted a beautiful, shiny red apple. One side of the apple was wholesome and delicious, but the other, the side she would offer to Snow White, was dipped in a powerful poison, a potion that would induce a sleeping death. The only cure, the spell dictated, was love's first kiss. Cackling with glee, the disguised queen set off for the dwarf's cottage. She arrived when the dwarves were away at the mine, having warned Snow White not to talk to any strangers. The old woman knocked on the window, offering her wares. Snow White, remembering the dwarf's warning, was hesitant, but the queen was cunning. She played on Snow White's kindness, pretending to be a poor, weary traveler. She offered the princess the poisoned apple, calling it a wishing apple. "Just one bite," she croaked, "and all your dreams will come true." To prove it was safe, the queen took a bite from the harmless side of the apple. Convinced, Snow White took the apple. She made a wish for her prince to find her and for them to live happily ever after. Then she took a single, fateful bite. The moment the poison touched her lips, she gasped, her eyes closed, and she fell to the floor in a deep, death-like sleep. The queen, her evil plan complete, cackled triumphantly, "Now I am the fairest of all." As she fled, a storm broke out, and the dwarfs, alerted by the forest animals, chased her up a rocky cliff. A bolt of lightning struck the ledge where she stood, and the evil queen plunged into the chasm below, gone forever. The dwarfs returned to the cottage to find their beloved Snow White lifeless on the floor. Their hearts were broken. They wept and mourned for her, unable to bring themselves to bury their beautiful princess in the cold ground. Instead, they built a coffin of glass and gold and placed her inside. They kept a constant vigil by her side in a clearing in the forest, their grief echoing through the woods. For a long time, she lay there, as beautiful in sleep as she was in life. One day, a handsome prince from a neighboring kingdom, who had heard tales of a maiden with unparalleled beauty, was riding through the forest. He came upon the glass coffin and was instantly captivated by Snow White's serene face. He had met her once before, long ago, and had been searching for her ever since. Dismounting his horse, he approached the dwarfs and begged them to let him say goodbye. Overcome by his genuine sorrow, they agreed. The prince leaned down and gently kissed her lips. At that moment, the spell was broken. Color returned to Snow White's cheeks, and her eyes fluttered open. She was alive. The dwarfs danced with joy as Snow White sat up, smiling at the prince who had saved her. Love's first kiss had conquered the queen's evil magic. The prince lifted Snow White onto his white horse, and with a wave of farewell to her dear friends, the 7 dwarfs, they rode off towards his sunlit castle. There, in a kingdom filled with light and love, they were married and lived happily ever after, their joy a testament to the triumph of kindness over cruelty. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more classic tales.